Hi, welcome to Unwind Design. My name is Kimberly. I'm your instructor for today. Starting off first with what we have in front of us, we have an 11 by 14 size canvas, wide ways to do our painting for today. Next, we have our brushes, starting with our large background brush. This brush is large enough to cover my background. If you have a bigger canvas, you might want to use a larger brush. For a smaller canvas, this is a good size as well. You don't need anything that's too big. Next, we have our size 5 or 8, between 5 and 8 square brush is just another brush that's a little bit smaller that is a square flat top. Okay. Then we have a between 5 and 8 size round tip brush that comes to a point. That also helps us a lot. It's going to help us with our lines and our details. We don't want it to be too big either. If you have a bigger canvas, then sure, use a bigger one. But this is a pretty good general size for one. Then we have our liner brush, which is our brush for all our details and all our fine lines. And I'm going to do my best to try to teach you to do this painting in my style, but kind of the rendering of what we're looking at. This painting is not originally by me. This is by another artist. I found the picture on Pinterest. So all rights are reserved towards them. I am just trying to use this image to give you an idea of how to do techniques and how to learn how to use your paint so that you can grow confidence in the tools and the techniques that you're using the more that you practice. Okay, so we're going to get started. We have our color. And if you notice, our color is really sticky. Okay, it is really dry. What does that mean? That means that our color needs to have a little bit of water to be hydrated. Okay, so we need to have a little bit of water. We're going to start off first with our liner brush. So come in and grab your liner brush, your detail brush, the finer one that you have. Make sure that you have your water, your towel. Make sure that you have a hair dryer as well, or a fan. We are going to be painting in layers. You want to make sure that our layers dry in the background before we move on to the second layer, third layer, and so on. Okay, so we are going to try to watch out for that. And we're going to be using a hair dryer for that so that we can move on a little bit faster. So we're going to come in first, and I'm going to grab in a little bit of yellow with red to create a slight orange color. With this orange color, I'm going to begin to draw the pumpkin that I want to create. Okay, so I'm going to come in right in the middle of my canvas. And from the middle of my canvas, I'm going to go about 4 fingers down. That's about maybe 4 to 5 inches. And I'm going to make a pumpkin. Kind of has 2 lines that are a little bit wide and a little line in the middle. Kind of like a bird. From here, we're going to start to go around. And this pumpkin's going to be nice and big. It's going to be nice and hefty, nice and round. Right towards the bottom, we're going to come in, make that a little bit larger. Make sure that it looks sort of even. And we're going to come in and just begin to add some of these lines. We're going to start creating our lines from here in the middle. We're going to come in and we're just going to bring this line down. This is sort of what is setting the base for the rest of the pumpkin. So this is beginning to set the pattern as to how the rest of the lines are going to look. We're bringing this down. We want to keep it nice and thick. It's about 3 fingers thick, 2 fingers thick. And we are coming up. Sort of like an almond oval shape. From here, we're going to grab some more of that red. We're going to do one more line, just a little bit round, create sort of a crescent shape. Okay, and the bottom doesn't have to look perfect. And we're going to do the same towards the left. We're going to come in. Okay, I happen to have a little bit more red there. That's fine. And you can even add another little crescent shape in the background there. Make it look a little bit chubbier. If you add just a little side peeking out, you can even do that here. Come back in, add another side sort of peeking out through the top there. It's a nice hefty pumpkin right there. Okay, so we have that pumpkin right there. Cool. Cool. So then from here, we're going to come in and we're going to begin to paint in the background a little bit. I'm going to grab my liner brush still, come in, and I'm going to begin to just make a line across there. I'm going to do the same towards the top here. A line completely across towards the left. And we're going to begin to play with our lighter colors first using our round tip brush. So we're going to come in and we're going to pick up a little bit of this yellow. Okay, so we're picking up some of this yellow and we're going to start to come in from beneath the pumpkin towards the right. Start to add a little bit of that yellow. You don't have to be super light with it. You can be a little bit messy. It doesn't have to look perfect. This look is a little messy. Remember, they are doing this with alcohol ink, so naturally the paint is dispersing by itself. Here we can't do that because we don't have that kind of texture. So what we're going to be doing is we're creating the messy effect with our paintbrush by actually creating the movement ourselves. So we're coming in. You can add a little bit more water if you want to make it a little bit more transparent. Again, you can come in, add a little bit of water. See that, how it's starting to look a little bit transparent? Come in with a little bit more of that yellow. And then you can come in with your straight red. Come in, add some of that red in there. At the opposite space, add a little bit of water. Come in with some of that orange, that red. So you can come back with a little bit more of that red. If you want to make your red slightly darker, you can add a little drop of black and it'll give you a slight raspberry tone to your red. It makes it very rich. It looks very nice. And you can put it sort of where the colors are sort of connecting. Right here, they kind of connect on the inside. If you want to create any shadows towards the outside, that's also a great place to use it. Look at how pretty these colors are beginning to look. So we're just kind of spreading this color out, coming back with a little bit more of that red in there. Spreading it out. I'm creating all these different sorts of waves and varieties of making lines in here, just kind of guiding my colors around. I'm starting to shape sort of the shape of leaves. You use sort of that dark brown that color gives you to create the effect of there being some brown leaves there. You see that? You can come in with a little bit more of that bright yellow and add it to certain areas. You can even add a little bit of white to that yellow if you want to make it slightly brighter. See that? So we're just starting to play with this, creating some design down here, making it look a little bit fallish. A little bit with that yellow. Trying to keep it a little bit light, coming back with the yellow right here underneath the pumpkin. And the messiness has a lot to do with creating the variety of colors that you're going to see here. So we're still going to be using orange to do the pumpkin, but it is going to look different because our orange is going to be going upwards versus this is super sloppy. So it's not going to look like it matches the pumpkin, right? Even though it is the exact same colors that we're going to be seeing in the pumpkin. So it's just something to kind of, something interesting to look into at the idea how even though you're using the same colors, just because you're going a different direction, how that gives you a completely different effect, you know? Coming in with some of that yellow. You can even come in with a little bit of that brown. And you can start designing those leaves with some of that brown coming down. See that? We have a little bit of that brown. Come in, scrape some of it. You can start to scrape a little bit on top there. So we're coming in with some of that yellow, coming back with some of that red and black. Here we had a little bit of that red and black. You can even add a little bit of brown to that too. And I'm going to begin to paint this darker section up here with that. Look at that. Again, this is brown with some red and some black. Super dark color. So we're coming in down here, starting to play with that dark chocolate color that we made. Starting to form some deeper shadows beneath things. Right here, I'm adding some below so that it looks like there's more of a shadow. Come back with a little bit more of that black. See how now we're starting to create some textures there? Start forming some leaves coming in from below. It's just some lines, some of that brown and black. Some of those lines that we're just pulling. Some wave lines. Here we come in with that dark brown, that dark red, brown, and black color. See, and we're beginning to play with that watercolor effect there. You can come in with your yellow and your white again and try to decide where you want the highlights to be. Right here, I'm going to add a little bit of some highlight. You can come in even with a little bit of white and start to create some flat surfaces, making it look a little bit more like a leaf. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play with that for a little bit, and then we're going to come right back. From here, we're going to start to work on our pumpkin, okay? So zooming into our pumpkin just a little bit to see it a little bit closer. This is the full picture that we are looking at. We're going to start to go a little bit closer to the actual pumpkin itself now. We're going to start off first with a 50-50 white and, not white, I'm sorry, yellow and red. So we're trying to go for a medium orange, not too dark, not too bright, nice in the middle. And we're going to start to paint in our right-hand side. I'm using my round tip brush. Again, a nice middle looking color. We don't want it to be too yellow. We don't want it to be too bright. Okay, and we're going to come in and we're just going to start painting this in with some of that color. As we start to work on it, you can come in with a little bit more of that white and just add the highlight wherever you feel you need it to create that highlight popping out there. You see that? I'm going to add it right here just so that it looks like there's a difference between these two colors. Okay, so I'm actually doing that to separate it and give the effect of there being two separate colors. So then from here, I'm going to add a little bit of that red with black into my orange so that I get a darker orange. See that? Red and black. And mix it in with my orange. So from here, I'm going to start to create a little bit more of a darker section. You see that? And this is going to be more of a shadow. Okay. From here, I'm going to create a little bit more of that yellow and red orange color. And we're going to start to paint the center of that section of the pumpkin. Again, a little bit more normal when it comes to the orange. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow in there to make it brighter. Okay, coming around. Perfect. And here with that white and yellow, we're actually going to put it, so this one was on top there. This one is actually going to be next to it. See that? A little bit more of that white and yellow scratched into that right section there. That darker red color goes right along the center. See that? And we're starting to get this really nice orange combination there. So right in the center, we're going to do the same thing. And we're just going to continue doing that. Red and yellow. If you wanted to add a shadow, add a little bit more red to it. If you want to make it brighter, add more yellow. And if you want to create a highlight so you separate it, add a tiny little bit of white. And we're going to work on that for a little bit. I did create a little bit of red with white to create a little bit of a pink. And that pink also serves as a highlight. If you want to use that, you can add it to the top sections where the divisions are, and you can just slide it. So for these lines, we're not adding a lot of pressure. We're very, very light. And right now we're just starting to mix all these colors together now. We're starting to form this pumpkin a little bit. If we want a little bit more on the orange side, you can come back with a little bit more of that red and yellow. And we can start to bring it a little bit up. Start forming it a little bit more so it looks complete. And again, we can go ahead and blow dry it, add another layer on top of it. I'm going to create that highlight right here, that separation. And this works out great when, again, your painting is still nice and wet. You get to slide that paint over the top. And look at how the colors transform. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. You start to create this really great transition of colors here. Get a little bit more of that yellow. Start to add more texture to this. Start to create a little bit more yours. If you want to add more yellow towards the top, if you want to add more white. Here again, we're creating more of a highlight of the yellow. Come back in here, come back with a little bit more of that white. Nice and light right in the middle. Start to make these highlights stand out a little bit more. You can wash your brush. I'm going to dry it. Make sure that it's nice and dry. It doesn't have too much water on it. And I'm going to come back with a little bit of that white and that pink. And I'm just going to start to scrape some on top right here on the sides. Very lightly. I'm not pushing very hard. Again, I'm just coming in with that white and I'm scratching it. My paintbrush is dry. It's not really wet. Coming back with a little bit more of that white and I'm scratching it towards the top to create that highlight effect. We're going to go in there, scratch a little bit more of that white. See that? How we're starting to get more character here. Coming back with a little bit more of that white on there. And let's keep painting this. real quick. I am adding a little bit of yellow to it now, trying to add some highlights. I'm going to dry it a little bit, and then I'm going to come in with a mixture of red with a little bit of black and a tiny bit of brown. And I'm going to be using my liner brush to create an outline around once I dry that. Let me show you what that's going to look like. It's going to be some red. I'm adding water to this, adding some black to it. And I'm going to be adding just a little bit of brown. Again, I could even add a little bit of blue in there and it'll turn it a little bit purple. So let's see. Loving it with that blue. So yes, definitely go ahead and mix blue in there. And that'll give me this dark raspberry color. This color is going to be what we start to divide the top of this with. So we start to get that darker color mixed in there. Just so we can start having some shadow. There we go. And we're just starting to go in again with this dark color. And we're going to keep adding some shadows as we go down. If you need to blow dry it a little bit. If it's a little bit too wet and it's not allowing you to paint the colors that you need to do, go in and dry it. We're going to continue adding some shadows below here to give it some personality. Right here, we are just scratching a little bit. Same brown and red color, just adding a lot of water. Try to make it just a little bit darker, a little bit waterier, so we can make some lines coming down, some cross-hatching lines. If you want to spread these, you can just add some water to them and use the paint that's already on there to spread them out a little bit even. Okay, so there we go. If you want to add some more of that color later on and keep playing on it a little bit, you can totally come in and add a little bit more color, and like I said, play with it just slightly more. All right, so from here we have our pumpkin. We're gonna be moving up slightly. This is what our picture should look like at the moment. It's nice. From here, we're gonna begin to use our square brush, okay? With this square brush, we're gonna be picking up different colors. So first off, we're gonna make sort of like a turquoise green. We're gonna pick up a little bit of this yellow and we're gonna mix it with a little bit of this blue. So there we have this very majestic bright green. To this, we're gonna add just a little bit of white to it. And then that's gonna create this really beautiful turquoise color that we see right there. It's a really pretty turquoise. You can always come back and continue to add a little bit more blue. So this is the color we're using. We're using this really beautiful turquoise, and we're gonna be using our dark blue. So right along the center of all of this piece, using your square brush, again, it was just a little bit of blue, yellow, and some white. We want it to be more on the blue side of the spectrum. And we want this to be nice and watery, okay? Nice and soft, nice and creamy. We're coming in and we're just gonna watch that we paint around our pumpkin. So let's try to be careful there. Keep it nice and slow, a nice steady pace. Outline the sides first. And then come in and begin to work with that turquoise. Okay, you can add some white to this if you want it to look a little bit more varied. You can even use more yellow if you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be white. It could be this really pretty yellow. It could even be yellow and white. Let me add some of that yellow. Let me add a little bit of that white. Look at how pretty that's looking in combination together. Let me see if we can see it a little bit better this way. Can you see a little bit better? Okay. There we go. So we're starting to get this really pretty aqua color here right in the center that we're starting to get around. Okay, again, we can continue to use our yellow and our white to create a variety of colors there. Beautiful. Okay, and as we start to go out, again, you pick up some more of that yellow and blue mixture. And as we start to go out, we start to pick up a little bit more of just our plain blue. See that? And we're starting to get a little bit darker with our color now. Now we're using our plain blue. Now it's starting to get a little bit more intense on this side. See that? Coming in with that darker blue. And we start to work it in towards our right-hand side. Coming in with that darker blue. Coming in with a little bit more of that yellow. Right here on this side, same thing. We're going to come in with a little bit of that dark blue. Bring it in the dark. I love how this is starting to look with that blue. I love this blue. Pathlo cyan blue is the best. Well, according to me. Well, I mean, there's also ultramarine blue and cobalt blue. All right, all the colors are good. Right. So this is what it's looking like on this side. Come back with more of that plain blue. Okay, we're coming all the way around. Again, we're starting to come a little bit with that yellow. And there you go. We're having that background show up right there. See that? What a beautiful mixture of colors we have there. Again, if you at any point want to come back with just your plain red, you want to come in and just spot some sections with just a little bit more of that bright color here, you can come in and add some just to spruce it up a little bit. In case some of this color died down, sometimes it does happen. You have to come back and spruce it up just a little bit more with some of that red. Sometimes it has to happen with the orange as well. You have to come back and spruce it up with a little bit more of that orange, or even a little bit more of that yellow. You're going to straighten out the edges wherever you want to fix them. If you don't like the way they look, come in and go in with that darker brown again, darker red brown, form that bottom section there. Okay, so for our stem right at the top here, the colors that we are using are going to be sort of like a brown olive color, or maybe like a light brown. Let's do light brown first. So we're coming in with this brown, adding a little bit of water. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and dry this real quick. Let me put you on mute while I dry it. So moving on to the top here, we are gonna be working with our brown. I added just a little bit of white to it to make it slightly on the lighter side there. So some brown. And I'm gonna come in and add a little bit of yellow in there. Maybe even a little bit of that green. What's that gonna do? Yellow and the green are gonna give me a color much like an olive. So again, yellow, and then I got some of that green mixture in there. Let's see. So, okay, so it's giving me sort of a weird off color here. Coming back with a little bit more of that white. See what we can get out of that. I think it definitely needs more yellow. Well, who would have thought out of everything I'd be running out of yellow the most, right? I hardly ever use yellow for anything like this, and it turns out I needed a lot for this one. So there we go. Again, I'm adding the yellow to the brown and a little bit of that blue to make it slightly olive. Coming in with some of that white. And there we go. We're starting to get sort of that olive brown green color that we're looking for right there. It's really weird. I don't know how to describe it. So we're using that off olive. Okay. And we're going to start to draw the stem. We're going to come out from the top. Okay, coming up from the top. Making another line. And then coming all the way down. You're going to get a little bit of that darker brown. Put it up on the top. And then if you want to come back with a little bit more of that brown, you can even add a little drop of black to it so it looks a little darker. And you can come in and just start to stain the stem a little bit. You see how we're dabbing some brown with a little bit of black up on that top color there. See if we can see it a little bit better. We're dabbing some of that brown closer in. And we're dabbing it actually on that design. Right in the middle, we can pick up a little bit of yellow with blue. Make it a little bit brighter. And we can just kind of add a little bit of that yellow color. Maybe even some white. Right in the center there. so that it looks like it goes with the stem. You can come back with a little bit of white and just kind of outline the outside a little bit. Again, if you want to add some highlight to even the top here, you can come in, add a little bit. If you want to add some shadow to seal it to the top, here, this would be your time to come in with your shadow and just sort of seal the top of it. So it looks like this is where all of the top of the pumpkin is ending, like it's all connecting to the stem here. Let's see what that looks like. And that is what our painting looks like so far. Again, you can always come in, add a little bit more of a darker color towards the top. Also on the stem, if you want to add any darker sections, you can always scratch some of this darker color on there as well. Just makes it look a little stained. Okay. So then from here, all we really have to do is to grab our liner detail brush, pick up a little bit of this white. Okay, the liner, the finest brush we have, pick up some of this white, and on the right hand side, come in and do our signature, because after this, we're done. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to check out our videos on our website at www.unwindanddesign.org.